Light to work okay. Okie dokie. Sound check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's see. The board is a little off center. Work. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Hello, Kian. Oh, where are you from? Well, it's been a busy weekend. Even I've been doing a lot. Vietnam, welcome. Do you have any particular questions or just visiting to see what it's like? So it's getting more confused up there, which is kind of frustrating because we have another area which we didn't even have a chance to work the last day or and get some more video on down there by a Discovery cabin, and it's got lots of little diggings over there, and I really don't know what it means. Thank you, Ken. If you have a question, just ask. It helps make the conversation. So the the the, the situation is just so frustrating. Hey, Graham, because usually I can fairly rapidly identify what was being dug because there's something visually different about it. Like you have a vein, there's quartz in wall rock, it's a piece of cake. You can tell what in general they were interested in. Hey, Graham. And that is not the case here. Um, I don't know why they put a whole bunch of holes all over the place. Now, the area that you saw in the video today, uh, the target zone, has a relatively small number of workings that are relatively diverse. Could be, Chris. I know at that other spot, you can see the trees have those weird shapes. Um, but the the area by the Discovery Cabin has a lot more workings, but they're more shallow. It could be, Chris. I'm also thinking that I mean that's 7,000 feet in Montana. The freeze thaw up there has got to be something incredible. So I'm thinking that a lot of that may be ice fracturing the rock over time where it gets into a crack, pops things up, then finds another crack, and that may be an issue. I've been helping Lauren with a landscaping job over here, and the way you have to deal with stuff here is so radically different than in Arizona, and it's all about water and freeze thaw, and he has to take a lot of effort to provide drainage under the surface, like for example, under the sidewalk. And you have to make sure that the surface itself is pretty water resistant. Depending upon the situation, it may have to be essentially watertight. And again, it's because of the freeze and thaw. The rock in this area is basically primarily siltstone um, sedimentary rocks. Um, Trying to think which. I've got so many clipboards with so much stuff right now, where I've been trying to work in the field. That looks like, no, that's not the one. That's for Montana Beach. And that's not it. Whatever. But anyhow, the siltstones, shales and like that, tend to have thin layers. They're not real tough. They're not super soft either, but I mean, it's the sort of thing that you would just expect water and freezing to break up fairly effectively. Yeah, I'm wondering if that isn't a lot of it, because it looks like it's uh, pretty much decomposed in place. I'm not sure, but I certainly, with the exception of that one limonite looking mineral, I didn't see anything that got me all excited thinking gold. Um, it's also frustrating that this particular mine we can't find any records on. And so uh, we don't know really anything about this thing. Now, a couple of years ago, I was at the portal, and we took some samples of some waste dumps and some tailings dumps, and didn't get anything exciting, I can tell you that. But there was clearly tailings. There had been a mill there. What few historic records we have indicate there was a mill there. But the tailings themselves are fairly uninformative and uninspiring. Well, and this is another thing, Chris. I'm thinking I really need to get a metal detector up there too, um, because especially over Discovery Cabin area, I've seen similar looking diggings down in Mexico. Hey, Rock, I'm going to want your advice on some stuff tonight. This is getting pretty confusing. And they have, they would have these holes next to tailings piles. And the difference was that hi, honey bunny, the tailings tended to be classified. You wouldn't have one tailings pile, you'd have two. You'd have fine stuff and you'd have coarse stuff, because they were mainly dry washing down there. In this particular area, I see no indication of that. It doesn't look to me, I can't see anything where it's like, yeah, they dug that and then they processed it, right there or whatever. I really don't see anything that really indicates that. The closest I see to classification was a little bit of hand stacking over there by Discovery Cabin. And, well, I'm sorry, John. Uh, what can I say? 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You snooze, you lose. Um, but that's got me quite confused. Um, all of the ditches and holes that I've seen that I can recall um, didn't seem to be missing much material. Now, I'm going to be doing a lot more work on this, of course, as time goes on. But that's a good point, Rock. Um, if the digging would allow them to efficiently hand sort, that is a possibility. What I'm trying to do is like, well, that's another thing I'm going to be doing in a bit here. But let's suppose you've got, and this is by the cabin there, you'll have like a series of trenches going down a hill. And these trenches, maybe 2 feet deep, 6, 10 feet wide. Sometimes they get deeper, rarely shallower than that. But anyhow, and it looks like the tailings are mainly thrown off to the side here. My thought was coming in and digging down to bedrock kind of like this. Actually, since there's a lot of them, more like this, because we found quite a number of small workings over there by the cabin. No, it is not rock. This is top of the hill. The other one was more nearby, Montana B. Yes, you're correct, Rock. I was imprecise and incorrect. Yeah, that's spoils or waste dumps. But yeah, I say, it looks like they were just digging a trench and throwing it to the side. And don't know. The trees in that area tend to be relatively small and of an age. There might have been a fire, there might have been logging, hard to tell. I can't think of any logging thing where you'd have a series of little trenches and things like that on the side of a hill. Am I mistaken? Is that a common thing in a logging situation? Because I mean, and what was interesting there is they were usually lined up going down the line of fall. And that's what I'm thinking, Chris. I agree completely. And over there by the cabin, there must be at least 20 holes in the ground that we found in a fairly short period of time. And then uh, when we went hiking through the forest, um, that we found other holes, other trenches, other places. Whatever it was they were doing was fairly standard for them, whatever it was. Um, but it's annoying. But that's why I was thinking by digging a trench across these trenches, then hopefully I could identify what they were doing. Hello, Red Wing. Um, it's not going to do me much good if it was placer that they were after. Over there by the cabin, it was shallow enough it could be placer diggings. They might have been going after placer as opposed to exploring for hard rock. There didn't seem to be any indications that there was any real exploitation of hard rock, although there were places, south of there, for example, where we put in another stake where there were some bigger holes. where clearly they were in bedrock. So I don't know. There is a fairly significant sized mine about a half a mile away. Um, and I don't know if they were just looking. It looked way too systematic. And I mean, why would you dig trenches parallel like this, usually downhill? That's kind of like you're following a placer streak or something. Yeah, and that may be what it is, Chris. I don't know. It's possible, Rock. I say, well, we'll have more videos next time we go up there. Can I afford a postal logger? Yeah, I'm sure I could get one without too much trouble. Getting it in and out, it's going to be a bit of a hike, but it would be doable. And I say, we shall see. Again, this is why I'd like to get a metal detector and run it over this. If they were doing placer, they should have left behind some small nuggets and things like that. Because again, it doesn't look like they've sluiced it or anything. Yeah, well, that's about, I don't know, 50 or 100 yards, honey bunny. I say it's doable, but it's a pain climbing over trees and stuff. You kind of see what it's like up there. Um, because on the top of a mountain, the wind gets kind of interesting at times. And I've got one, Chris. That's going to take a long time to cover much territory like that. Um, I was thinking more of like a gold monster or something to that effect. Um, say it's a yeah, Chris. It's not the ground nearly so much as the frickin' trees laying all over the place. I mean, you've seen it. You didn't see the bad parts in general either. You saw the parts where we're just kind of cruising through. I mean, there's places where I was like, well, we better go around this one. It's gonna add a lot, but I mean, we literally couldn't get through to okay. It'll take us 5 minutes to work 20 yards. We've actually done that.
Oh yeah, those deadfalls are ridiculous.
You know, and so I don't know. We're still early in this game. We're kind of trying to get an overview.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, Chris, that's not a bad idea. Uh, yeah, well, the Discovery Cabin is on Forest Service land. So if you want to take a couple of years and file a lot of paperwork, we could probably make that happen. Target Zone, on the other hand, that's private land. It gets a lot easier on that one. Um, so I say we shall see. Yeah, I have no argument with the idea of using a chainsaw appropriately and this and that and the other, making a little road. Because I mean, you can cut pretty good sized tree into like 16-inch chunks, roll them to the side, and then you can split them later if you want. But it's complicated. Just getting around is not simple. It's actual work, pain in the ass. The other thing that was kind of interesting was that the Discovery Cabin, there's a conical hole there, and when I throw a rock at the bottom of the hole, I noticed it when I first just throwing some rocks. I tried to climb into a little drift there, um, but I got it open enough where I could kind of snake my way in and look around. and it was in placer. At least the back was placer. Couldn't see what the bottom was. And so as I was throwing the rocks out, hit, and it's like, that sounds hollow. And I, just visually, the amount of material piled up next to this hole looks to be about as much as it would take to fill the hole. Yeah, John, but we can't find anything so far. We're working on it. Okay. That's also a good thing to do in the wintertime. Research. One of the problems is that all those records and stuff are all in storage right now as they rebuild the museum. So all the paperwork is in a warehouse somewhere, completely inaccessible until like next year or the year after. I am not kidding you. Now. Yeah. That's it. So it's kind of annoying. But I was wondering if possibly, since it was right next to the cabin, if maybe that might have been a well. The drainage off of the hill would be, okay. That's not too bad. And so they might have been digging down to get to some groundwater. I don't know. But a well would be short enough that the collapse on top and everything would account for the hollow sound while still not having much depth there. We were spending a lot of time just exploring and mapping. And that's what this is for behind me here. What the heck, little one? So again, there's no dumps. Everything that you see a hole, there's a pile of material that pretty much matches the hole. And so I know what a tunnel and a dump looks like, and I didn't see anything. These are all dog holes and test trenches and stuff like that, according to my experience. I say, but there's a lot of them. No, this isn't glacial till A, up on top of a mountain, B, decomposed bedrock, No, Chris, especially as this is the top of the mountain.
Ain't no place to go but down.
Yeah, yeah. You would need pumps, guarantee it. Yeah, it is top of the hill, absolutely. That's why I thought maybe a well just to collect the groundwater as it's kind of percolating through the subsoil. None that I'm aware of, Chris. However, there are definitely mines downhill from us. You look on the satellite, you can see them from the road below when you're going in and out. Yeah, there's mines around there. That blazed tree that Eva found, and she found another one, by the way, too. It was put in 2012, wasn't it? 2012 by a corporation. Looks to me like they were blanket staking everything. Okay. These look professional. We found stuff of theirs all over the place. Okay.
I'm assuming the other ones were put in as part of the 1976 Mining Act.
I don't know exactly what's up, but yeah, that's interesting. I said there's definitely mining around there, but the only significant mining we know of is the mine that's underneath it, about 500 or 600 feet, that comes in from the side of the mountain, and that is a significant digging. How much ore? Don't know. No records. What grade? Don't know. No records. What was the geology? 40-foot wide zone broken with some veins in it. There you go. You got it. So that's, well, first of all, I'm not a big guy, John. And nowadays, I say it's treat. Unless you're going to be dropping your steaks and letting them penetrate, uh, you know. But the nice thing about all the trees is you can blaze a tree and put a mark on it. You don't have to carry your stakes.
But it has to be a tree 8 inches in diameter.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Now, what I'm showing here, again, part of what I was doing was mapping. And part of the mapping is quite simply, we had an old map. It was professionally done by a surveyor. Okay. And thank you, Ken. It's a bunch of patented claims with the mineral survey numbers and the whole 9 yards. This is clearly a legal document type survey of the entire section. Now, back then they didn't have GPS. They didn't care about lat lon in general. Okay. So nowhere on it does it have a lat lon of any point, which makes perfect sense for the time. They were using the cadastral survey, township, section, range. It's such as this angle, this distance from this section corner, blah, blah, blah. Well, with modern GPS, you can make things happen a whole lot easier than that. But it's not easily transmutable from the map to GPS coordinates. By the way, while I'm at it, I know Rock and Chris or somebody, the UTM, Universally Transverse Mercator, is that so that units north and south are identical to units east and west instead of latitude and longitude, which keeps changing? You know, I'm pretty sure that's the advantage. Now, the GPS that I've got is currently running lat lon. It may be able to go to UTM. I don't know, but it's working fine for me. Yeah.
And I think Google.
Those plastic containers must be UV resistant. Do you mean the ones at the mill, the UBCs? Not to my knowledge. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, Chris. So basically, X and Y are the same. Whereas when you have latitude and longitude, life is a bit different. And I know somewhere, location notice, take it. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Now, this is something I made up, not last winter before. And basically, this uses lat lon. Again, that's what my GPS uses. And so this is the scale for longitude. This is the scale for latitude. This is 1,500 feet in both cases. In longitude, you're at 0.0060 minutes, I think. Whereas in latitude, you're 0.0041 minutes. So your up and down and east-west are not equal. and that makes it more complicated. That's why they like the UTM. Okay. However, I don't have it accessible to me. I haven't the faintest idea, Rock. It came in a box. I turned it on. Okay. So, what I did is I had a map, and this map has corners. It's entirely possible, Chris, that these were patented claims. One would presume there's going to be reasonably good and well marked corners. So I went out looking. The idea is fine. Let's find some of these corners. I had a map. I've got a section corner. I know a lat long on the section corner. I know roughly how to translate that to feet. So, and sure, Rock, then I'll have to translate all my lat long to UTM again. But anyhow, so went out there, and luckily in 1976, the Forest Service went and hired a surveyor. I presume the Forest Service did, because all of these corners that we find say Forest Service on the other side of this. We didn't find any of those kind of markers inside on the blocks of what do you call it? Patented claims, where there was no Forest Service involved. And so what it did do, though, was it gave me a number of monuments. And if I want to, I can go to the surveyor, who's still, the company's still out here, and get them to give me their lat long if I want it. But what I did was I found a number of points. One, two, the last two I just found using my adjusted grid. But I had 1, 2, 3 known survey points.
Don't forget the one I found last that we didn't even know existed.
Doesn't matter. It's not on the map, little one. It's never surveyed in. Therefore, it does me no good for this discussion. It's just something out in the middle of nowhere that has, it's like a rock. Okay. Where it is doesn't matter for this discussion. So, anyhow, and then I got lat long with my handheld GPS, which, by the way, you can tell is not entirely accurate when you're sitting at it and watching the numbers change. I'm not sure why that happens from time to time, but it is hilarious when it's stationary. And it's changing not insignificant. It's not just one, the last digit is flipping back and forth. It's like last digit goes from 1 to 0 to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 0 to 1 again, all in about 3 minutes. It was hilarious. And yeah, Chris, I understand. I'd rather have a good metal detector right at the moment. If anyone's got a gold monster they want to either get rid of and or trade for a GPX 5000.
Maybe the mining ferries will give us a drone.
Yeah.
A cheap drone.
Yeah. So,
drone would be good.
Is that what's happening, Rock? Is that the encoding and such? Could be. I don't know. Anyhow, I'll generally, when I have a point that I'm setting or whatever, or if I'm trying to verify, I'll take a measurement, make sure it's, stable, walk away from it and come back from another direction and try it again and everything. And when I'm getting consistent numbers, that's the number I use. So anyhow, I now had, GPS coordinates on a number of corner points, not the ones inside the thing. Now, the other thing I had was I had one surface thing that's marked on the shaft. It's the ventilation, I mean, on the map, it's the ventilation shaft. And so I was also able to GPS that. And so I got a number of points. And then what I had to do was make my own grid for that map, you know? And so what I did, let's say this was surveyed in here, here, and here by our friendly neighborhood government. And it was also surveyed in by a surveyor that put it on a map millions of years ago. And so you got something else on the map that does not have identifiable corners. What you do is you take the GPS here, lat lawn, and then you can take this distance here and divide it into the difference of the longitude that you have in your GPS, and the same thing here. Okay? And that gives you a admittedly rough but serviceable grid that you can overlay on the old map, which is what I did. From that, I was able to extrapolate to two other points that I suspected would have been surveyed in, but which I couldn't find initially. And in fact, there they were. Okay. And in both cases, I hadn't quite got to the numbers I was looking for. But when I was like from here to Eva and could actually see the signs that they put up. Now, the second one, Eva spotted the sign before me. Partly that's probably because a tree got blown down on top of everything. And it was also very dark under there. My eyes aren't the best, but she's got really good eyes. And we're working on some other stuff. We'll see if we can make it even easier to find certain things, but we shall see. But that's what I had to do to get to where I now had a map with a latitude longitude grid on it that I could use to find stuff. And let's say it's a much finer scale than this, but it's the same basic principle. And now what I'm trying to do, and Chris, you can probably help me with this, I'm putting essentially the map stuff in my CAD program because it's real easy to add stuff. And as we go out and we find things on and GPS them, etc., then I can map them by just putting in my CAD. However, again, we have this issue. Latitude and longitude are not the same. Currently, the format in my CAD program has the basically units of latitude equals units of longitude. Once I get things kind of straightened out and everything, my plan is to use the scale thing where you can actually change the X scale different than the Y scale. Oh, yeah, we missed it. It was gone quick, John. Thank you very much. But yeah, it was gone in an hour. Yep. I have been using Google Earth. Google Earth is kind of annoying, Chris, but yes, it also allows me to see the physical surface according to things, which also helps find stuff at times. At least get you close. You're correct, Rock. But as I say, once I change the question, Chris, is once I change that scale, when I go to input a new number, you know, now that the X is different than Y on the thing, is it internally different too? So if I go 0.1, 0.1, they're not going to be at a 45-degree angle. It's going to be more on the one. No, it's lat long. That's what I've been using. I'm not familiar with that one, Rock. Yeah, that would be nice. I have trouble with that myself, Chris. But yeah, something like a UTM has the advantage, especially in a small area where it makes it very, very simple. My question is, you know, uh, you just have to walk away from all the stuff you've done before, or coordinate, or convert it again. Yeah, I hate that learning curve, Chris. I hope not. Um, but I say I figured out how to make this work, and say that's what I was wondering. Once I got everything in my CAD program working, can I just change the scale on the X or that would be the Y axis, and then when I punch in the new numbers, they'll be adjusted? I mean, does it change the internal grid? I'm thinking it does, and I've got ways to check it, because what I'll do is once I scale it so to change that effect, then I'll go ahead and well, that's all Greek. QGIS kind of tries to be ArcGIS like, but it isn't quite the same. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and save a spare copy first, and then I can just go in and make a new test thing, or it'd be real simple, and just change the scale factor and see how it all works out. But I think once I do that, I can just punch in the numbers, and that'd be cool, John. So anyhow, that's kind of our situation with the mapping. Say we got it down to where, yeah, I just hammer them out. There it is, boom. Then when I put the GPS on it, I'm using, well, the GPS has decimal minutes as opposed to degree minutes, seconds, or decimal degrees. It's running in decimal minutes. And so the last digit can vary by 1 or 2, but that's it. Hey, Forrest. Sometimes, Forrest, sometimes my mind is far, far away. But anyhow, so we've got that working. So now we're more into the exploration phase instead of the orientation phase. And we're going to start mapping small areas in a fair amount of detail. I bet you can, Rock. If you're going to be operating in nothing but lat lon, probably the simplest is just decimal degrees to probably, 5 digits, but that would be the simplest. That's how I've been doing so much conversion between A and B and stuff. It's just a noise. But anyhow, so next trip up there, we'll probably be doing more detailed mapping of smaller areas to see if mapping it can give us a picture of what the heck is going on. It's hard to tell when you have a whole bunch of trees. I mean, literally, I can see that trench right here, and I can see the trench over there, but is that another one over there? And you're only looking, I don't know, 50, 75 yards away. It's hard to tell. And all the ground is sloped. There ain't anything flat over there. It's not hugely steep, but it is anywhere from, okay, that's a hill, to, crap, this is no fun. Eva did a great job. Um, we did one where we hiked, gosh, I don't know what it was, 2,000 feet or more, when we took and parked up on the hill that one time and walked through the PA claims.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't too bad because we're always going downhill. Then we got to a road, walked back up to camp, and then even stayed there while I walked up to the quad and drove it back down. On the way up there, I found a couple of quartz crystals. And what else did I find? Oh, I just got a rock from that outcropping to see what it was. Yeah. And so we're very early in this. Only one of the samples was I actually able to pan some gold from. And that's the one in the video where I said right here. As such, it's kind of discouraging, but I don't have my crusher yet either. I think the welding's pretty much done. There is a little bit of distortion of the side plates, and we need to grind the hard facing down and kind of tease out some of that distortion to get things working smoothly again. But the RC46 is getting close to back together again, which is important because starting next week, I'm heading up to, this weekend the plan is to Montana B to get more samples. I mean, not samples, to get more ore or mineralized ground. And so we're going to need that thing to do the jaw crushing. I would say if you have an RC46, you'd be better off to monitor carefully as you're using it. And as soon as the little apex where the movable jaw is doing this compared to the fixed jaw, right in this area right here, that's where you get the most wear on the side plates. The RC46 does not have replaceable side plates. Okay. And so once that wears down just a little bit, take it apart, hard face that, grind it down, and go again. Because we let it go to where it was so worn that Lauren, who's a good welder, burned a hole through it. It starts out at 3/8 thick, so it got pretty badly worn. Yeah. Lauren, he was in a little bit of a hurry. He says usually what he would do is something like that would be to just weld a big chunk of steel on the outside to hold it in place while he did the welding. But it's just a little bit. I mean, 1/16 of an inch, something like that. Just enough to cause a few little problems. I don't think it'll be enough to cause us too much of a problem, especially as the distortion is in such a way that, I mean, we can bring a sledgehammer to bear if we need to. Yep, I agree, Honey Bunny. The thing is, we only didn't have very big area, only about this much, and a big piece of plate. And that was 3/8 thick plate. So, I say it shouldn't be too hard to get it in good shape. I'm not terribly worried. Say it's a pretty small distortion, and only one side plate is even going to have uh, any issues at all. The other one is we got plenty of clearance as soon as we get the hard facing ground down. Yeah, that heat distortion is a real pain when it comes to welding. Let's see. Other stuff. Insects. Yes. Any does anyone have a positive ID on whatever that weird bee wasp looking thing was?
Is there an entomologist in the house?
Not me. According to Lauren, and he hasn't seen the video, but he said it sounded to him like what they call a meat bee that tends to be carnivorous. It eats bugs, it eats carrion, that, stuff like that. I don't know. He says, yeah, they stink. That's pretty good, Chris. What, little one?
None of them have stung us yet, but the goddess does not approve.
Yeah. I say, yeah, we don't need to get it that close, Kodak. Yep. We got angle grinders and straight edges and stuff, so we should be able to get in pretty good shape. The main concern is the movable jaw. The shaft seems to be a little bit, just a tad bit twisted enough to where it can actually touch the side plate. So we'll do some more work on that shortly here. Oh, by the way, Rock, did you see the video I posted today? I don't know if he's got a 20-ton press, Honey Bunny, but I know he's got a what do you call it? A power pack. Any idea what that limonite looking stuff was? It looked like a mud wasp. Do mud wasps like to crawl on you? I guess looking for moisture from sweat or something like that. Let's say. So let's say that red kind of orange stuff, it looks to me like limonite, basically, or actually more precisely goethite. So you could see that as just a natural decomposition of the host rock as opposed to a potential hydrothermal deposition. Because I say that's the only place that I actually saw any gold in the pan. I say I've got samples. I say that's the only one that panned any free gold, and it was small. But we could also be dealing with pocket gold where there isn't a whole lot of real fine gold left, and it's more like what we found, what I Break for Bedrock had down there in Arizona that was, all coarse gold or coarser gold, which means that it's behaves in many ways like placer gold. You have to have really big samples. So I don't know, but say we've got some stuff out for assay now. As soon as I get the RC46, I'll crush some stuff up, send off some things for assay. Obviously, that one sample where I found gold, that's going to go to assay. Yeah, if it was weathered out of pyrite, that's where I would expect the gold to be, Honey Bunny. But I'm running through a real dearth of metallic mineralization visually. I mean, I just can't find anything. Very annoying. I'm used to being able to see something. This ain't happening right now. Between the soil and just, whatever, it's just not showing up like I'm used to seeing. But as I got some samples. I even sampled the road. Um, I got one sample that's basically the black sand and rivulet on the road there, and then where I was parking the quad, and you had this road going down a mountainside that's unmaintained year after year, so it tends to get a gully in it, and so that gully was causing me some problems, and so I took out the matic to just kind of knock down some of the uh, slope in the road next to the gully. Boy, it didn't show a lot of iron too. So I took a sample of that. Again, no gold visible, but uh, so as I say, I'm working to try and identify just what the heck the old timers were digging for. You know, because again, my general philosophy is you don't dig holes in the ground for no reason, and there must have been something that got them excited. Oh, I don't think so, Chris. Not that I'm aware of. Let me just check something here. Close that while I'm at it. Uh, I haven't seen anything really coarse grained out here. Um, you know, um, I did find, let's say, a couple of quartz crystals, not highly well formed, but they were significant size. And just on the road, walking back up to get the quad, they were reflecting the light quite nicely. And so I decided to pick them up.
That's literally the only.
Um, there's an intrusive uh, a mile or two away. There's an intrusive body there. Um, Not a batholith or anything, but just an intrusion, which is presumed to have driven a lot of the mineralization in the area, which is why I would have expected to see some, you know, vein-like deposits. Haven't seen anything yet. Uh, Hardly any quartz at all in the, just float or anything. Very, very frustrating. It's not my usual thing, but I tend to be kind of bullheaded, and something is difficult, I'll just keep banging my head against it until it breaks. Hopefully, it's not my head, but I mean, look at what it took us. What, almost a year to figure out everything involved in the leaching process for Montana B, and we still got details to work out. And I say there's the mines I can see downhill on one side of the mountain are on the opposite side of the mountain from where the intrusive is. We're between the two. Okay. And so there's no reason why there couldn't be something good in there. Just it's not that visible. Okay. Yeah, right. I say until I see a vein or something, I have no idea. Paleoturbidites. First of all, the map I have is not high res. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at? Should be in here. Let's see. There's those. There's those. Okay.
Give me your phone.
Coming. Oh, sorry. Got it? Not quite. Okay. According to this geologic map, there is a major fault line that crosses the claim block. You remember right there where we were at between those last two monuments we found, little one?
Yeah, I think so.
And according to this, it goes right through there. Okay. And let's see. At that point, it's mostly YPN, which is the Piegan group. Which is dolomites, limestones, and siltstones. And underlying that would be the Empire, which is mainly argillites and siltites. Okay. And the Spokane Formation is also argillites and siltites. Okay. And the place, according to the geologic map here, the actual sedimentary layers are only dipping about 20 degrees. But the major fault in there is near vertical. It's at least 80 degrees and dipping the other way. But I say that's trying to think where this road is. Have to look for the road because there's it's gonna come up here. Yeah, like that. Yeah, that outcrop of the dolomite looking stuff to me should be right around that fault, little one. According to this.
According to that.
According to that. Well, it's a pretty big scale map. I mean, it covers a whole county or two, you know? Oh, yeah, and this is not a minor fault either, rock. Let me see if I could safely show you this. Let me fold that over. But let's see. This is basically the fault that runs across our property there. Okay. And this cross section just happened to be fairly close to the location where we're at. I mean, it was a pretty close cross section, so it was very handy. Yeah, I say I've got a lot of work to do. Um, it's not assumed to be something we're going to figure out in a day or two. You know, there's a fair amount of complexity. You got forests, you got soils, but we do know there is a mine below us that's inaccessible right now. We might be able to find some information on it, but so far the answer has been no. And that's where we're trying to, it'd be nice to be able to get some more access to records. I mean, we went down to Butte to talk to the Mines and Mineral Resources people, and he couldn't find anything on it. So it's going to be one of those deals where we're going to have to, look at for newspaper articles and things like that. And I say, all of that's currently unavailable. Yeah, I agree, Chris. But unless you can do it with a pan, it's going to get real expensive, you know? So that's where I'm trying to find some place to start, you know? Because if I can find any place that's got gold, then I can start looking, okay, what's it associated with? Douglas, I just as soon not have anything to do with AI. I got a bad feeling about this. Okay. Oh, absolutely, Rock. This is way too large a scale. Way too large a scale. And by the way, did you ever talk to your people about what kind of survey, geophysical survey to run to try and find the structure we're looking for? Was it geomagnetic resistance? What uh, what kind of geophysics should we use on that? And you said you were going to talk to some people and try and get me an answer. I was wondering. Yeah, that's what you suggested. You were talking to some people about doing it by drones and how much it costs and things like that. So I was wondering because I mean I'm in the dark here. Um, Hello, Hintern. Hintern, that is a possibility, but it would be even better if we could use a LiDAR um, because there's a lot of trees and vegetation that would obscure it from a regular drone. Places where there aren't trees, we can see a number of holes dug to bedrock, trenching, things like this, but they're not on our claims. And as such, we're not allowed to go do anything. Um, Let me see. I think, as you can see, I'm in the middle of stuff. Uh, this is that. Uh, it doesn't show up too well on the maps that I've done from Google Earth. It's clearly visible from Google Earth. There's one right there. But let's say that there's clear workings visible on Google Earth. But most of those are not on the claims we have, and they're certainly not the areas where we're what do you call it, that we're actually interested in. Don't have anything there. That's why we were doing the foot surveys, looking for stuff, and Eva's trying to kind of fine tune her intuition to see if that'll uh, assist. Um, there are some promising indications. We haven't got to the um, dowsing yet because, quite frankly, we've been busy. And Saturday, Eva was feeling poorly, and by Sunday, I was just kind of getting a little bit tired. So we called it quits. What, about 2 in the afternoon or something?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Something like that. Oh dear, that's right. Uh, you told me to write something down here. Let me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Just a second here. Let me get that written down.
I swear, dude.
Yeah.
You have such a bad memory.
So anyhow, I think we got quite a lot done. I really do. Probably not as much as Rock or one of his crew guys could do, but I think we did pretty good. Now this is some of the fun part in terms of you're exploring a lot, things like this. On the other hand, if you're not finding stuff right easily, then it can be kind of annoying too. And we also ran into a lot of quads this weekend. It was funny. It was Sunday, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we ran into what looked like an entire club.
Yeah, there was like a club on the way out or whatever. I mean, but there was a lot of off-road vehicles out there this weekend compared to the last time we were there. And even that was high traffic compared to Montana B. Montana B is funny. It's not that hard to get to, but hardly anyone goes there. Yeah, it's it's pretty funny. Yeah, Chris. There's a number of interesting options, um, and for example, there's apparently some sort of surface structure visible on Google Earth that's almost directly over the tunnel, 500 feet below it. I don't know, honey bunny. I'm not. I don't have time. Maybe come winter. Uh, depending on what you find, seismic might do some good. But yeah, I don't think seismic is the way to go for this. I think there's other things that are likely to be better at finding what we're looking for, like resistivity. Um, Over there in Montana B, the ore tends to be really high in iron, but it also tends to be fairly small. So I'm not sure how uh, how effective it would be on smaller ore bodies or mineralized bodies. Um, Maybe if they're massive, honey bunny. I doubt that a highly oxidized, mineralized gold deposit is going to transmit sound better than the undisturbed rock around it. I don't know, but I would think that finding a dike of lava in sedimentary rocks might work well, but finding a brecciated zone with stuff in it, I'm not sure. So that's it's getting to the point where you know we got to step it up a bit, but I've still got quite a numbers of arrows in my quiver that I haven't used yet. We'll have to see. We may be able to get some drone imaging done. We'll see how that works out. Yeah, that's my thought, Chris. Um, I say, even just going out there with a backhoe and just trenching, uh, a couple hundred yards would tell you a lot. But yeah, it's got some negatives too. Not the least of which is all those quads wondering what the hell you're doing, even if you are on private ground. You know, so I don't know on that one. Now here's another thing.
Yeah, being subtle on this one's going to be a little.
Yeah, subtle. We're not going to fly under the radar on this one. I guarantee you that. And we weren't even on the road that when we came back from the last thing and ran into quads. Mm-hmm. My goodness. Honey Bunny would not make a difference. This is not the sort of thing you can get in and get out at night. It'll take a half a shift just to get the equipment from the Forest Service road to the work site. Yeah. Do they drive their quads at night? It's hard to tell. But again, by the time you can move your equipment in and get something done and get it out, you're not going to have any time left. You know, I say it's not going to work.
A flying car.
Stack some brush over it. Yeah, this is. You notice the scenery we were walking around in. You take even a little mini excavator through that, you're going to leave serious trackage. It's not going to be unnoticeable. You know.
I can spot roads that haven't been used in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know. As I say, it's one of those things that, in a more reasonable time, might not be a problem. In today's society, you're going to draw a lot of attention. We'd like to avoid that if we can. You know, I say we're looking at maybe logging and doing something useful with dead trees too. No, we're afraid like somebody in Montana, Western Montana here, accidentally got his excavator off of their claim onto a different claim and did a little work. And the state's going to fine him $500,000. Okay. That's what we're afraid of. Okay. Oh, entirely possible, Honey Bunny. But let's say, if it's legal and we can get the permits and do it and make money, hey, it's there. It gets the trees cleared up so that we can do something. Plus, it leaves a lot of tracks where other tracks will tend to disappear into. You know? Yeah, Chris, that's possible.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they move over here from the left coast. You know, there's a reason we call it Bozifornia.
And some people also call it Los Angeles.
Yeah, Los Angeles. What's Missoula's name?
Doesn't have one yet.
Doesn't have one yet. Same
people
thing.
People just give it a side eye, like Billings.
Yeah. When Eva went, she spent a couple days in the hospital there with her surgery, and so I was just kind of walking around in the off hours, and man, it looked like Los Angeles 10 years ago. You know.
Well, it has a really weird vibe. I don't like going to Missoula.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know they're that cheap, John. That's the question. I mean, I say the rules seem to be changing in unpredictable ways also, so it makes it disconcerting. Better to not be noticed if possible. So we keep it on the QT for the initial, and if we get to the point where there's something that is worth a lot of attention, then you do it. Hintern, I am not sure. I think there are multiple causes. There's at least one area where it appears to be some fire. If you go if you look from some of our higher elevation shots, you'll see a big area of dead trees. That was definitely a fire. The bark beetles are definitely an issue. And up at that particular spot, the winds are pretty severe. A lot of those trees were knocked down by wind. So there's a number of different reasons for it. And some of the uh, trees that are knocked over were no doubt already either weak or dead before they got knocked over. But it really is annoying because there's some places where it's essentially impassable. You just have to go around. And it's very, very frustrating. Once you get in the middle of a bunch of trees, um, it's usually not too bad. It's on the edges where the wind really whacks them. And either, as I say, it can knock them down when they're healthy, but I'm sure it can knock them down a lot easier when they're not healthy. That sounds about right, Blind Sight. Yep, you're right. Yeah, it can be a real problem, Hintern. The one of the problems is the U.S. Forest Service will not allow selective logging in many cases where they could. I mean, even that area that was burned out, they wouldn't let them come in and log it after it was burned. You got all those trees that just got burned. They're, can easily be harvested. Oh no, we can't do that. So I say the environmentalists have kind of messed things up. Multiple use is not nearly what it used to be, but say it should at least to. I mean, there's between here and Butte when you're going through the mountain, you can see that the forest is terribly sick and it needs to be thinned. As I understand, when you thin the forest, the bark beetles can't do their thing nearly as well. And so that's how you deal with it. You thin the forest, the bark beetles, go away, and you can kind of let it grow back a little, but you keep it to where you don't have these massive forest fires. But you have to manage it. You can't ignore it. And around here, yeah, they just simply say no. Yeah, honey bunny, wouldn't surprise me. And if you burned all the slash to generate electricity, you'd have carbon neutral renewables. I'm not sure what a morel looks like, Rock. Everything we saw didn't look what I think a morel looks like. But we did run into some weird looking mushrooms that last visit to top of the hill. I don't know what the heck you'd call those things, but it was really, they were really weird looking.
Brown and ruffly is what I would call them.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Rock, and nope, didn't see any of those. Well, there's lots of weird ones up here. Um, yes, Chris, I agree with you. Um, it's, you manage a forest like you manage anything else you want to run smoothly. Yeah, Chris, nothing like that. Yeah, Jeff, exactly. If it's managed, not a problem. Um, and there's loads of deadfall. I say when a fire burns through, they should go in there and, in my opinion, get a logging company to say, look, we'll log it, we'll de-stump it, we'll replant it, and you'll be in good shape. But it's kind of like the grizzly bears up here. Okay, there's a certain number of grizzly bears that results in a coexistence, fairly peaceful coexistence. You get much more than that, you start getting some conflicts. And I don't know, Rock. That's a good question. He says a lot of people are blowing up his phone asking him to identify rocks. And yeah, I say around here the big problem is more the grizzly bears. Um, and I know somebody who said he was hiking one time and he's up on a hill taking a break, looking back down, and there's a bear following his trail, sniffing the air, following him. Yeah. So he sent a little hot lead the other way to sprayed it with a little rock shrapnel, and there it, sent it the other way. But that's not, um, it shouldn't get to that point. The grizzly bears that aren't afraid of people should die, and that'll protect the people and a reasonable grizzly bear population at the same time, in my never to be humble opinion. It's
an animal population should always be 10% below carrying capacity.
Yeah. They just had a guy killed a week or so ago in Prescott, Arizona, by a perfectly healthy black bear. Had good fat stores, no issues, no problems. It just decided it was hungry, and that people don't run very fast, you know. You're known worldwide, Rock. You're not renowned, huh? Uh, uh, and so, as I say, that's my thought on the grizzly bears. Now, where we were parked this last trip was literally in a field of wild strawberries. So this may not be the most ideal location in the future here. We shall see what happens.
I did find bear poop. I have confirmed that bears do indeed shit in the woods.
So, as I say, we shall see what happens. They also theoretically have wild huckleberries up there. We'll see what happens.
I certainly saw bushes that are either blueberries or huckleberries.
Yeah, well, Chris, the other schmuck will be Eva, so that ain't going to happen. It's going to be hot lead, and somebody's going to win. You know, um, I just don't like to have to get in that situation. And I'm also having to consciously start remembering to pack that 44 everywhere when we're out there again. When I leave camp, there's a 12 in the camper if he even needs it. But basically, that camper will be pretty tough for a bear to get in, and so depending upon the situation, she also, when we're out in the forest and everything, she's carrying the bear spray, and I'm carrying the 44. So we have a variety of options. When she's in camp, she'd be the canned food, and a bear's not going to have a fast enough can opener to make that one work, I don't think. I'm not directly familiar, but I know that the bears are reputed to have a very, very good sense of smell. And grizzly bears can weigh up to 500 kilos. And that's a lot of bear. My 44 Magnum is not big enough to make me feel comfortable thinking that's going to be, you know, uh, a piece of cake. It's like, no, no. My hope is first time I touch off a round, it hears the bang, gets scared, and goes the other way. A 50 is a little more than you need, but it's definitely adequate, John. 12 gauge slugs is pretty much the preferred thing, although something like an M1 Garand, 8 rounds of 30-06 will probably do it, you know. So say it's just not a fun thing. And also, I've got a little request from a viewer in Africa. He's looking to start up a new cyanide plant. I hate this part, you know. And I said, how much training do you have? Which, of course, the usual. But he does have internet, and he speaks English well. So I was wondering, I'll go look for it myself if I have to, but if there's any particular cyanide safety videos or cyanide for tank leaching videos that are fairly good and easy to follow and stuff. If anyone's got one, let me know, and I'll see about doing it. All right, John, that's if they don't realize you've got an extra clip that you just threw to screw with their heads. Yep. Yeah, well, they don't have it over there, honey bunny. That's what they're using in the area. And I don't have a problem using cyanide, but I don't like people who are not familiar with it. They don't even know what pH is. Yeah. 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 That would be fine. I've also got an AR-10, which is not quite as good as a Garand, but an AR-10 with 308 partition bullets, 20-round clip, it's going to be tough swimming upstream against that stream of lead. But yeah. That's pretty good, John. Yeah, I know about Garand Thumb. I don't know. I got an AR-10B from I think it was Armalite, but yeah, if you could check it out and send me a link, Rock, I'd appreciate it. But I've never had my AR-10 fail to load. Is it accurate? Reasonably, as good as my Garand, but or my M1A was. That's another nice gun. I mean, now that would it's a little heavier than the AR-10, but an M1A has the reliability of a Garand plus a 20-round magazine. So that's it's a little heavier, but yeah. And honestly, if you got a charging grizzly bear, are you going to get past that 8th round? You know? Uh, okay, get on it, Chris. Um, my brother knows some people in Yuma that build custom AR-10s too, and one of theirs typically shoots zero point 0.7 minutes of arc, but occasionally they get everything just right and it'll do a 0.5. You know, so yeah, let's say it's just one of those things. 308 or larger. Okay. Let's say I know that the 12 gauge probably could, but again, the common wisdom is to not try and shoot at their skulls unless you got fast hard bullets. You know, 4570 should.
So why are we discussing killing bears?
Because
Curious.
because we theoretically going to be dealing with bears up there. Okay.
Okay. I was just curious. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
You know. So I say it's just one of those things. I presume if we run into a bear up there, Evil will spot it far enough away that we won't, uh, have an issue.
I haven't seen any large wildlife up there.
I saw an elk. No, I saw a deer track this trip, and I think I saw an elk track this trip.
Yeah, I have seen a single track that could have been a deer. I have seen track that could have been an elk. I saw one bunny rabbit, and I've seen a couple of birds.
I like your idea, Lars. Any moose out there? There are some moose in Montana, but I think they stay kind of close to water. You don't usually find them on top of the mountains, as far as I know. And I say
what
that.
I'm saying is, unlike other places, we haven't seen them.
Yeah. I say so. We'll see. But I don't know. Eva, did you ever try moose? You ever had moose to eat?
Hell yeah.
Okay, how is it?
Yummy.
Honey Bunny, Eva says it's yummy.
I like moose.
Yeah, I know you got pigs in California, Lars.
I keep hoping that you'll get some sort of a game tag in a freezer this year so that I can have real meat.
Yeah, well,
That'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll need a much bigger freezer than anything we got.
Well, yeah.
No, I don't think they do have some. I think they got some Shiraz moose in Utah, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the heat would have a lot to do with it, Honey Bunny. Moose are not the heat and humidity in Arkansas. Yeah, it's a bit much for a moose. We see lots of mule deer up here. We see a lot of antelope and see a lot of elk at times. They tend to be in big herds. But yeah, it's one of those things. The only thing that concerns me are the bears. I know we do have some rattlesnakes around here. Oh, by the way, the neighbor down there that was working on that fence,
Yeah.
he says that stream bed there can be rattlesnakes in there, so just be aware. Okay. Just be aware.
Where was this?
By the ranch. Remember that where they've always got the welder where
Yeah.
they're working? Right there, that stream bed there. He says there's snakes
Oh,
that
okay.
come out there. So just be aware of that. You know? So I mean I haven't seen a rattlesnake up here. I've seen what was that out there at the ranch? That little gopher snake. What a little
Yeah.
dinky thing? What was
And Jimmy said out there by Silver Star, out there by where he is,
it? Uh-huh.
there it's serious rattlesnake country. But no, I haven't
Yeah.
seen one. Have not seen any.
Yeah, I say, I'm sure top of the mountain is not a problem. It's covered by snow half the year. Montana B, on the other hand, is much more temperate. I think that's wise blind sight. Although when I was in southern Arizona, the heat and illegals were also a significant consideration. Uh, I mean, when you're out there hiking in the desert, you're not going to find any water. It was such a weird mental transition when I went on a solo hike in the Sierras to realize I don't have to fill all my water bottles all the time. I'm right next to these lakes, you know? So it was funny.
But what about up here?
That would depend on where you were at.
Well, it's like you're used to being quiet walking in the woods, and up here you're supposed to make noise.
Yeah, we make noise. We act back and forth too.
Yeah.
Birdshot in a revolver for snakes is very effective, John. I agree. Rock says he's shot 12 moose with a 300 Weatherby Magnum. All went down with a single shot. He never feels recoil when he's shooting at a moose. At the range, it's a different story.
Dinner?
I agree, Rock.
Dinner?
Yeah.
So that means that when Rock comes down to visit, he's going to bring moose, right?
We'll see what happens. Anyhow, when are your boys going to be here?
End of July.
End of July? Okay. Oh, looks like Eva's already ready.
Yeah. Well, it's 7:44. I'm 14 minutes past time.
Oh.
You've been yakking and opining. Howdy, everybody. Yeah. Blind sight, Lake Havasu is absolutely ridiculous. And you can never have enough water down there.
No, you can never have too much water.
Rock. Well, what if you smuggle the moose over the border alive? I mean, do you have to fill out the paperwork if the moose is alive? Just asking for a friend. Paperwork. Hi, Kodak. Paperwork for food. Ridiculous.
And say it's a Percheron.
Yeah, right.
Bet you 2/3 of those inspectors couldn't tell the difference.
Well, Rock, you see, you load it in a horse trailer. Bear just said you load it in a horse trailer and you say it's a Percheron. Hi, Grain. Glencore offers to buy the rest of Polymet for $71 million. Well,
I'll be happy to sell it to them.
this could get interesting. Mining and commodities giant Glencore has offered Polymet Mining to buy the company's shares it does not already own for $2.11 in cash apiece, or about $71 million. Well, be still my beating heart. Rock, I have animal magic. If I really, really had to, I'm pretty sure I could figure out how to get a moose in a horse trailer. You'd be surprised. I can get a horse in a moose trailer too if they had one. Just saying. The move will give the Swiss giant a direct ownership of Northwest, poised to be Minnesota's first copper nickel mine. Yeah, we'll see how far that one goes, or when it goes anywhere. Sometime in the next century and a half, something may happen with that. It will also make it Tech Resources 50-50 partner in the New Range Copper Nickel joint venture, which owns Northwest and Mesaba copper, nickel, cobalt, and platinum group metal deposits. Glencore attempted in April to acquire Teck, Canada's largest diversified miner, for $23 billion. After being rejected several times and faced scrutiny from Ottawa, the firm approached Teck in June with a proposal to buy its steelmaking coal business for an undisclosed valuation. The bid for the price of PolyMet is at par with the Minnesota-based miners' rights offering in April, which increased Glencore's ownership stake in the company to about 82.2%. Northwest and Mesaba contain measured and indicated resources of 637 million tons and 2 billion with a B tons, respectively. Additionally, inferred resources said 400 million tons for Northwest and 1.3 billion tons with a B for Mesaba. In total, the two assets represent approximately one half of the known 7.25 billion with a B ton Duluth complex resource in northeastern Minnesota. Part of that whole business that a certain federal government that we all know and despise cordially at this point is trying to politely pretend does not exist, I have not had a chance to watch the video, Kodak, because I've been doing like 10 zillion things. But I will have him dig it out and I will find it. And I will watch it and give you many opinions. Northwest is expected to produce 29,000 tons of ore per day over a 20-year permitted mine life, with the first production targeted for 2026. Good luck with that. Over its first full 5 years of operations, it's expected to deliver annual payable production of 30,000 tons of copper, 3,600 tons of nickel, 58,000 ounces of palladium, and 12,000 ounces of platinum. Estimates for Mesaba are currently unclear. Shares of PolyMet more than doubled in the pre-market trading in New York to $1.87. Be still my beating heart. The company has a market capitalization of almost $153 million. Yeah, Kodak, only 10 zillion things to do. You got that right. There's all kinds of things to do at the moment. Not the least of which is figuring out what's going on up there at top of the hill, and figuring out what's going on in the lab, and figuring out what happened with that last tank and getting ready to put in the next tank. I have a ton and a half of things to do personally. So we shall see what we shall saw. The world's appetite for solar panels is squeezing the silver supply. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Let's take a look at this. Changes to solar panel technology are accelerating demand for silver, a phenomenon that's widening a supply deficit for the metal with little additional mine production on the horizon. Well, yeah. Silver in paste form provides a conductive layer on the front and back of silicon solar panels. But the industry is now beginning to make more efficient versions of cells that use a lot more of the metal, which is set to boost already increasing consumption. Solar is still a fairly small part of overall silver demand, but it's growing. It's forecast to make up 14% of consumption this year, up from around 5% in 2014, according to a report from the Silver Institute, an industry association. Much of the growth is coming from China, which is on track to install more panels this year alone than the entire total in the U.S. Solar is a great example of how inelastic demand for silver is, said Gregor Gregerson, founder of Singapore-based dealer Silver Bullion. The solar industry has evolved to become much more efficient with using smaller amounts of silver, but that's now changing, he said. The standard passivated emitter and rear contact cell will likely be overtaken in the next 2 to 3 years by tunnel oxide passivated contact and heterojunction structures.
Wow, I like heterojunction.
Okay, yo, Professor Hard Rock, can you translate that in any way? Tunnel, oxide, passivated, contact, and heterojunction structures.
It's a quantum thing.
Okay. Bloomberg NEF says, while PERC cells need about 10 milligrams of silver per watt, TopCon cells require 13 milligrams, and heterojunction cells 22 milligrams. So does that mean there'll be homojunction cells, bijunction cells, and transjunction cells? Or does that only apply to people?
No, those are transistors.
Good point. At the same time, supply is starting to look tight. It was flat last year, even as demand rose by nearly a fifth. Figures from the Silver Institute show. This year, production is forecast to increase by 2%, while industrial consumption climbs 4%. The trouble for silver buyers is cranking up supplies is far from easy given the rarity of primary mines. About 80% of the supply of the metal comes from lead, zinc, copper, and gold projects, with silver being a byproduct. And in an environment where miners are already reluctant to commit to large new projects, lower margins in silver compared with other precious and industrial metals means positive price signals aren't enough to crank up output. Even newly approved projects could be a decade away from production. The result is a strain on supplies so significant that a study from the University of New South Wales forecasts the solar sector could exhaust between 50 and 98% of global silver reserves by 2050. The volumes of silver per used per cell will increase, and it would take 5 to 10 years to bring them back to current levels, according to Brett Hallam, one of the authors of the paper. Chinese solar companies, however, are actively exploring using cheaper alternatives like electroplated copper, though so far results have been mixed. Technologies that use cheaper metals are now sufficiently advanced and will soon be put into mass production once silver prices surge, according to Zhong Baoshen, chairman of the Longi Green Energy Technology Company, the world's biggest panel manufacturer. Silver is currently trading at about $22.70 an ounce. Yes, it's on sale. It's dropped around 5% this year, but it's well above where it was before surging in 2020 as the pandemic buoyed demand. Substitution will look more interesting when silver is at, say, $30 an ounce as opposed to 22 to 23, said Philip Clapwich, managing director of Hong Kong-based consultant Precious Metals Insights Limited, one of the authors of the Silver Institute report. There won't be a doomsday scenario where we run out of silver, but the market will restore an equilibrium at a higher price, he said. We should be so lucky. With that in mind, it should be noted that the COMEX hit a new low for silver last month in terms of the supposed inventory. They're not doing too well in the gold department either. Lots of funny things are going on with the paper over there at the COMEX.
You're right, John.
Which should not surprise anybody. And yeah, I'll give them crazy before I give them my silver. I agree with that one. I mean, personally, I am very much a silver person, as everyone knows. Y'all can keep that funny yellow stuff. I like the silver. Just saying, silver is where it is at because it actually, well, Professor Hard Rock was discussing this the other day. He was talking about how silver comes in so many different forms that managing to get it out of the rock and turning it into a bar can be far more challenging than gold. So I just happen to like a challenge. That's all. You know.
Is that why you married me? Challenge you keep it from.
Well, yeah, man. We could say that. Mm-hmm. We could say that. China jumps ahead in the rush to source lithium from Africa. So yeah. Once again, the Panda Patrol is fanning out across the world and doing everything they can to take on all the natural resources. Now, to put this in perspective, as we all know, Lord Malarkey and company, along with other world leaders, have pretty much decided that they want, as a matter of fact, they need and they fully intend to further this great green agenda thing that's going on. The problem with the great green agenda thing that's going on is, quite frankly, uh, all the stuff is made someplace else, amongst all the other problems. As if we did not have enough problems with the Great Green Agenda already. We have the problem that the Great Green Agenda covers a bunch of crap that is made everywhere else. At the moment, whether people realize it or not, our dear friends in Pandaland pretty much have full practical control over the entire supply chain for solar cells from ore to finished panel. They have nearly perfect control and perfect dominance over the entire supply chain for making those cute little wind turbines that we all despise. And anybody in their right mind would despise those things. Horrible, horrible blight on the landscape. Just saying. They control about 80 to 85% of the most critical parts of the manufacture of rechargeable batteries of all kinds, but specifically electric vehicle stuff as well. Taiwan, and to a lesser extent Hong Kong, pretty much control the microchip industry. It's a little difficult to have a successful great green revolution when all the shit is made halfway around the world by people who don't like you. Not to mention the carbon footprint looks a little bit bad in that case. Just saying. The carbon footprint looks a little bit bad in that case. And another random news, if you haven't checked out Zero Hedge lately, Macron demands that social media platforms delete riot content and blames social media and video games for the spread of protests. Those have been some fiery but mostly peaceful protests going on over there in Spain and France. More in France at the moment, but Spain is not far behind. Belgium has now clocked 3 or 4 fiery but mostly peaceful protests, and there was even one in Switzerland. The difference was the Swiss got on things before the fire alarm started and started arresting people. Let's hope they continue that trend. And a Swedish member of parliament actually made the mistake of pointing out the similarities between the unrest going on in Sweden and the unrest going on in Britain, where somebody got attacked with a machete in broad daylight the other day, and the mass unrest going on in France, and what they all had in common. And yeah,
One of
people
these
are
looks like
not
another.
very happy. People are not very happy with her at all because of what she said. Just saying. And you may have missed it. Lord Malarkey once again decided to crack an amazing joke recently where he said, "Oh, yeah, he has sold all kinds of state secrets over the years and has shared them with a whole lot of people, too." And by the way, just so you know, it was a bag of cocaine that they found in the West Wing. The mysterious white powder that caused them to evacuate people. They tested it. It was a baggie of cocaine. No idea how much. Obviously, it couldn't possibly belong to any members of the first family. And, especially not Hunter, who apparently has been having a lot of sleepovers at Daddy's Washington house lately. Who knows? You know, just saying, it was cocaine, it was not anthrax, and it was not cyanide, and it was not nuclear waste or anything else really dangerous, Just so that's fine. That's fine. That's just the kind of thing you normally find in the West Wing. It goes really well with the display of topless partiers we had on the front lawn there last month. It was a little bit bizarre. Just saying. And the FAA, in an interesting feat, has green-lighted limited flight operations for a SpaceX-backed flying car. So if you're interested in that, go over to Zero Hedge and read about the SpaceX-backed flying cars. If it's electric powered, I wouldn't trust it.
Need a long cord.
At least if your electric vehicle catches on fire on the ground, you can get out of it. On the other hand, if your electric vehicle catches fire in the air, you may have an issue. Just saying. And in the news of electric vehicles, apparently a dude down in Texas was very, very upset the other day because in the midst of this horrible heat wave, the battery in his Tesla decided to become non-functional, and as some sort of an ostensible safety feature or something else that happens with it, the Tesla locked him out. So there he was, stuck out in the horrible, horrible, very, very, very hot weather with his dead Tesla waiting by the side of the road for hours. Now, this dude apparently was not thinking very well here. Why you would want to get back into a dead, non-functional car in the middle of a freaking heat wave when you cannot turn on the air conditioning is beyond me.
Can you open the door from the inside?
Nobody knows. Nobody has answered that question yet. Nobody's answering a lot of questions about this. But apparently this is something the Teslas do as a safety feature. When they die and become bricks and shut down, they lock you out. The question is, do they actually lock you in? I don't know. And why you'd want to be trapped in a roasting hot car in the middle of a Texas heat wave, I don't know either. Because if my car died on the side of the road, I would call a tow truck and then I would seek a shady tree. And if somebody pulled over to ask me if I needed help, I would say, yeah, bring me back a very large drink with a lot of ice in it and an umbrella. It makes no sense to be in a non-functional car in a heat wave. Just saying. Bitcoin bulls eye $31,500 as ETF optimism propels crypto prices higher. Yep, we have another pump and dump going on in the Bitcoin world, and this time BlackRock is sitting pretty in the middle of all this, and they're cooking up some sort of a scheme with Coinbase. So we're going to have to keep an eye on those two yo-yos and see what transpires here. But it's looking like it's probably going to be another nice pump and dump if they follow their usual cycles, which is, they're absolutely welcome to do so. I have no problem with the idea.
Stupidity should be painful.
Well, why you should always own gold and silver. Now, this article comes to us courtesy of the yo-yos over at Kitco, which a person has to kind of wonder about Kitco now and then. Let's see if I can get to it, if it decides to behave. And we will find out what they have to say. What is their reasoning here? From the CPM Group. CPM Group's Jeffrey Christian discusses the importance of including physical gold and silver as part of an investor's precious metal profiles. He also discussed CPM's Group intermediate trade recommendations as well as the probability of various economic and political events affecting the price of gold and silver. Big political events affecting the price of gold and silver are coming up. As a matter of fact, the goddess has a few things to say about this. watch the price of regular gasoline versus the price of diesel and red diesel. We may well see an inversion in my part of the country in those two prices in very short order. And that is really, really a bad economic indicator. It's a whole lot more trustworthy than your typical government numbers, that's for damn sure. Also, more people are taking the BRICS seriously. As we all know, Mad Vlad, the invader, got together with his cronies in the BRICS and was making noises and bruiting about little ideas about a gold-backed currency to be used for trade. That talk has been going around for quite a few months now, but the meetings of the BRICS have been coming closer and closer together. The number of people showing up at the meetings for the BRICS has been getting bigger and bigger, and we're already seeing several BRICS countries and some countries that want to join BRICS and have applied and will probably be taken in already inking deals to do business in their own various currencies. For instance, we got India and Iran, of all places. For whatever reason, India and Iran are working on a petro deal, and they're actually going to be using rupees. Apparently, there's some sort of thing going on there with basmati rice and oil and rupees because the Indians don't want to export their rice unless they get paid in rupees. And the Iranians are currently having a critical shortage of rupees for some bizarre and unaccountable reason. I mean, everybody keeps whole mattresses stuffed full of rupees. They're the world reserve currency, I think. Anyway, so a new deal has been brought up wherein the Indians will be paying the Iranians for oil and a few other little things that they get from Iran in rupees. And then the Iranians will have plenty of rupees that they can use to do business with India. At the same time, we have several African countries and two South American countries that are now using the Chinese yuan, a digital yuan that is going to be gold backed very shortly as a trading currency, both with China and amongst each other. Gambia, amongst other African nations, a couple of African nations are now openly saying quite regularly in their local media, why the hell are we being restricted to doing business with the US dollar when the US dollar is so freaking expensive to get our hands on here? We want to be able to do business with other people in our local currencies. And so more and more people are beginning to buy into the idea of a gold backed and commodities backed BRICS central currency for doing business with. De-dollarization is happening, people. It's happening a little faster and a little bit more aggressively than anybody is talking about. And you may notice that our mainstream media is not talking about it at all. We also have some very odd war type things that are going on in Europe right now. Apparently, Poland is going to turn out to be a great staging area for U.S. forces and U.S. equipment for NATO to use when Russia blows up the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. This is really beginning to look a little bit bizarre, okay? Because while this isn't something that apparently our media talks about, our own military is critically short of a whole lot of weapons at the moment.
we kind of don't have that many weapons hanging around that we can kind of scare up and ship over to Europe to sit around and look important with, or get blown up, or get destroyed by people who haven't been trained to use them, or have something else happen to them. Our government has stripped stockpiles out of several allied nations that technically those allied nations bought and paid for. And we kind of went and took them back, which is really not a very good policy. But then again, a whole lot of the policies we're having at the moment are not very good policies. We also have increasing instability and increasing mistrust and distrust in the banking system for good reasons. Nigel Farage recently came out and told everybody that after 30 years of doing banking with his particular banking system, he was unbanked and unpersoned because of his unpopular, unpolitically correct opinions. As a matter of fact, he's not the only prominent citizen that's been unbanked of late. And for every prominent citizen that gets unbanked, every prominent business that gets unbanked, there's a whole bunch of people like that church pastor over there in England that also get unbanked. That dude got unbanked because he pointed out that his local building council building was festooned with strange looking rainbow flags for some bizarre and unaccountable reason. And, you know, they wanted him to put one on his church. And he kind of said that, that really wouldn't work very well. It doesn't go with the decor. And then he lost his bank. This is beginning to impinge upon the consciousness of normal people. More normal people are beginning to notice that, yeah, all of a sudden, their banks are limiting the amount of money you can take out of an ATM. That's kind of making people unhappy. And all of a sudden, prominent people and businesses are talking about getting unbanked unwillingly. And that kind of worries people. And believe it or not, even though the media tried everything they could to keep it very, very, very quiet, the news of those 4 or 5 large bank failures actually has been getting around. What hasn't been getting around is the fact that the at risk list of banks now has the highest number since 1929 in the red zone. That hasn't been getting around. What also hasn't been getting around is that the list of credit unions at risk has the highest number in the red that has ever been since credit unions got together and became an official thing going on out there. It is also beginning to impinge upon people's consciousness that the Federal Reserve doesn't have enough money to cover everybody's deposits. And since we are seeing, and more people are realizing that there is a two-tiered system, that people like Hunter Biden are treated very differently than people like us and people like you, it's dawning on them that the odds are very good that if something happens to their bank and they go to the FDIC and they say, "Can I have my $7,283.19?" The FDIC will say, "Get frogged. Bye bye." Because who are they going to pay first? Now, it would make more sense to pay as many little guys first as possible, because then the little guys would see their little guy friends getting paid first and they'd say, "Oh, okay, the banking system's safe, so I can take all my money and put it in another equally risky bank and I'll be fine." The big folks are rich. They can afford to lose everything over 250K. But what's actually going to happen is the same thing that happened with Silicon Valley Bank. The political donor class is going to get paid first. The businessmen are going to get paid first. The CEO is going to get a golden parachute, a large bonus, and he's going to immediately get hired by another bank, because that's what happened to the last 4 CEOs that we know of, the major ones, in the last 4 bank failures. They've already been hired by other banks. And everybody else in the C-suite also already got hired by other banks. It should be illegal to hire someone to run your bank if the last bank they ran failed. But that would be too logical. Just saying. That would be absolutely too logical. We are currently sitting in a position where gold and silver cannot stay where they are for much longer without price discovery beginning. Because every month we see more shorts that are just being covered on the very last day of trading by COMEX, and who the hell knows where the bank that's holding the bag this month actually gets the silver from. We're seeing more people actually wanting to have physical delivery. And there have even been a few people that got annoyed when COMEX tried to tell them that, well, just because they stood for physical delivery doesn't mean they can actually get physical delivery. Perish the thought, you own this product. Why would you ever expect to take custody of it? That's just ridiculous. It's beginning to permeate people's consciousness. And it's even beginning to permeate the consciousness of people that buy paper silver that is supposedly physical, like Sprott's PSLV. It's dawning on people now that maybe buying silver that supposedly is sitting in a Royal Canadian Mint vault, not exactly what I'd call a safe place, when the company is also being quietly taken over and bought up by BlackRock, may pose a few issues. But then again, BlackRock and Vanguard do own about 54% of the world, and 100% of the world's money is controlled by 147 companies, and 40 of those are hedge funds. So, that's just kind of the way things are. Yep, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And that is the thing to remember. This is why we go to the local coin shop every single week and we say, yeah, it's Monday. Monday is the historic low day of the week for the price of silver and gold. Therefore, silver and gold are on sale, and we back up the truck. Unbank thyself, lest thy fiat go poof. And remember, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye-bye.
All righty. Oh, Blindside is applauding. Anybody says bye. James West says bye. Intern says words of wisdom. Yeah, she's pretty smart lady.
I'm a goddess. I'm supposed to be smart.
Oh, I better take your sign down because that could
Yeah, you are not a goddess. Take down my sign.
That could be false advertising or something.
The rocket surgeon made that sign for me.
Yep, Lars did. We're working on it. We're working on it. Oh.
Now, if the gods of mining will give me a drone, I'll be happy.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be an expensive drone.
Well, as the guy said who passed the 10th floor of the Empire State Building on the outside, it's going good so far. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but Eve and I are having a good time right now in the present. So it's working well for us. And let's see. We're going to have a visitor this week. And
my boys will be here the end of the month, and we
Walt
need to change the calendar.
is going to be here, and then her boys are going to be at the end of the month. Is that a joke, or did you mistype something? Yeah, I thought so, honey. I am not certain, Hintern. If you paid for goods and services with gold and silver metals, would that be considered bartering?
No, it's actually considered spending money.
See, I think you would be legally considered as the free market price of the gold or silver
Yeah.
as the value that was
It's just spending
exchanged.
money.
So, like if you had, um, you know, 2 ounces of gold and you paid supposedly $500 for something with it, if you get audited, that's not going to pass. But the nice thing about bartering is it's awfully hard to trace, you know? So as long as everyone doesn't say anything and there's no paper trail, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what happens. So that's kind of the way it is. Hintern, I don't know if you know this or not, but in the United States, um, the producer of, if you have a gold or silver mine, um, if you don't sell it after you produce it, you can hold on to it and it's not taxable until you sell it because the value is unknown. It can change. Now, I guess Chris says that in California they have like a $5 per ounce or something like that tax on newly produced gold or whatever, which was pretty serious probably when they put it in, but it hasn't changed in a while, so it's not that much. But yeah, it's one thing that if you are a primary gold or silver producer, it's only taxable once you sell it, because until then the value is indeterminate. Uh, so yeah, we don't go over there much anyhow. It's sad. There's a lot of interesting places along the west coast. The problem is they're all covered with left coasties, you know. So it's a shame. But as long as they keep voting the way they are, they're going to get the government that they deserve. Idiots. I just hope they don't, because they outnumber us dramatically. So if they all move over here, we're in trouble. You know, we shall see what we shall see. But Eva, Eva wants to start a new program where the state of Montana puts billboards up at every road into, every highway into the state that says, "We believe in guns, not killing children." And what was the other one? Oh, and there's only two sexes. You know, just to try and, like the sign of the cross to a vampire or something. Oh, I mean, it's desperate times call for desperate measures. Oh, it's so crazy. So we shall see. Still haven't been able to get a word back from the governor on anything yet. Now it's summertime, so it's hard to get time over there. Who's supposed to pay for that? I think if a lot of Montanans would. We're tired of this crap. Montanans are proud of their. I mean, the old school Montanans. They're proud of their state. They're proud of their freedoms. Back when I was 15 or 16, it was 1970 to 1973, somewhere in there. We were up here in Montana, uh, and had an uncle that lived in Bozeman and a grandmother that lived in Missoula. But that was the time when there was no speed limit on many of the roads. It was like, you figure it out. Yep. Oh, I agree, Hintern. Well, actually, no place is all bad people. That's for sure. But for some reason, the cities get crazier. I think it's because they're detached from reality. I mean, when you're out in the rural country, you do something stupid, it's going to hurt or kill you, you know? And yeah, honey bunny, that reminds me of a joke. There was a science fiction series, and they had an invading alien race, the Catorans. And they eat people, right? And so they say, you know, what if what does a Catoran call Los Angeles? Granola, all fruits and nuts and flakes. What does a Catoran call San Francisco? Quiche. But yeah, that was pretty funny. So yeah, it's pretty bizarre how things are getting. I think the French are starting to figure out that actions have consequences. You know, um, here in the United States, we have options they don't really have over there in France. But
Well, the
what?
one characteristic of this fiery but mostly peaceful protesting that's going on
Yeah,
is the type of stores that are being looted first sell knives and firearms. What firearms there
yeah,
are.
makes sense because you get the tools to do what you need to do to get more stuff. It's just pretty much blind sight, and it's let's say over here it would depend a certain amount on the legal system. But if in the particular jurisdiction, like there was a particular uh, county in in Florida, that during the George Floyd, Black Lives Matter stuff and everything, he basically said publicly, he said, look, self defense is a thing in this county. you know, you mess it up, you want to play games, you're going to win stupid prizes. He also had a thing about, you mess with our kids, we will kill you dead. you know, and that's, that's you're not going to see much problems in that kind of a county because, most of the people I know would consider a riot in a county like that what we would call a target rich environment, you know? Yeah, blindside could be. I mean, if you look at the southern border of the U.S., one would say that appears to be the case. You know, so I say a place like here, that kind of deal wouldn't last very long unless the authorities prosecuted people and survived prosecuting people for defending themselves. You know, it's bizarre. It really is. But every time you think it's gotten as bizarre as it's going to get, they just keep upping the ante. I'm not sure, Fox. That goes way back farther than I know. They record it and sometimes they punish it, but yeah, they don't prevent it. As our friend Gonzo used to say, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away. And that's true. I mean, there's one time I called the cops and it was 30, 40 minutes before they showed up. Of course, the reason they were late is because they'd arrested the people down the blocks burglarizing somebody else's car. Um, yeah, John, you got to click the live chat. Don't ask me why. It's so weird. But then it's YouTube. It doesn't have to make sense. No, I don't understand half the stuff that's going on right now until you got to remember the words of that wise man, Robert Heinlein, never underestimate the power of human stupidity. But never underestimate the power of evolution to fix it. So we shall see what we shall see. Oh, so this weekend is Montana B. We should be um, mining, and we'll actually be setting up the head frame and the new high line and all that other stuff, and the new position for the generator, testing all that stuff, and start working our way down to the 40-foot level. That's the goal. So we shall see what we shall see. But see what the money now. Somebody who didn't come out with me to the ranch either Friday morning or yesterday afternoon um, didn't see the spot test from that last stuff. Not looking very good. I don't see much change in the resin either. Which I mean, I know it's the spot test. Essentially, there's very little gold in it to begin with, and we're just getting what appears to be a light result from other contaminants, and therefore the resin cartridges don't really make much of a difference. But yeah, I did. It's not nearly as dark as it was before.
The numbers in terms of the amount of Eco Gold X and stuff, they're not showing the way it's acting. It's not acting like it's ore that's got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it's pretty much a crap batch.
Yep.
And but it's now out of the way, and the batch that's in there now, that should be better. That's from that upper dump. So we'll see what happens with it.
On that plate, there should have been a spot test in the little side category that said AT.
Yeah.
That was a tank spot on the tank that's there right now.
Yeah, I didn't pay much attention to it. I can't tell you for sure one way or the other what it was, but I noticed it wasn't what I was looking for. So you'll have to find out. Yeah, that sounds like me sometime, honey. But although my feet are also dangerous weapons, you know. Oh, my last week, I don't know what I did, but my left ankle was pretty sore when we went out this weekend. I kept it wrapped and took some ibuprofen, and it seems almost fixed now. There's certain ways I move it, and I can feel it's like not perfect yet, but oh well. Yeah, Honey Bunny, Lauren's dog doesn't like fireworks, so he's very likely out in the mountains right now just to get away from all the noise. Yeah, where he lives. Oh, and by the way, little one.
Yeah.
Sad news. Out there at the lake where Vern lives. According to him, yesterday there was uh, presumably a teenager, but a young person on a jet ski that wasn't wearing their life jacket, and they found them before sunset. You know, so that's sad.
Any idea what happened?
Yeah, they crashed, probably got knocked unconscious or got disoriented or whatever, didn't have the life jacket, didn't float. That doesn't get work. That doesn't work too well. There's a reason you wear a life jacket. When Randy and I would go fishing on the bass boat, remember when we were on the bass boat, we always put the life jackets on when we fired up the mains? Because at those speeds, something goes wrong, it's gonna be bad.
Oh yeah,
You want-
always wear a life jacket.
If you wind up in the water when you got a 175 horsepower motor pushing you, the chances of you being able to
Well,
just
you always wear a life jacket anyway. That's like you never ever have alcohol involved in anything, Bodie.
not if you're smart, at least not the driver. Yep.
Nobody, driver, passenger. If you've been drinking, you do not go on the water. Period.
Yeah. It's hard to figure out which way is up.
No
If you
swimming,
fall in
no
the water,
boating,
too.
no nothing.
That's the best way. But yeah, we take our life jackets off and we were just using a little electric trolling motor. But Randy and I have been swimming for a long, long time. Just falling into water is not going to pose much of a problem for us. But yeah, if you're going 50, 60 miles an hour and wind up in the water, even if you just fell out of the boat, the impact is going to be
Oh, yeah.
substantial. Yep. So, yeah, that's a sad thing, but that's what happens. Cool, Brian. Uh, how's that mill going? You got that? By the way, can you discuss what kind of ore grade you have and how you know it? Or is that something that's confidential? Okay. Uh, yeah, you done quarter to three quarter. That's not bad. Seems to me you had at least a foot wide, wasn't it? The main vein there. Seems like it was significant, not huge. It's not like a 4 foot, 6 foot wide vein or anything, but it seemed to be reasonable size, as bigger than what I'm dealing with. Assays, a bunch of them. Yep, that's the only way to be sure. Um, it's nice to be able to hand pan it to get quick results, but like at Montana B, most of the gold won't hand pan, so the reliability kind of sucks. That's 3 foot wide. Okay. If that's your average grade, that's not too bad. Uh, you may consider doing a kind of a somewhat detailed analysis of what seems to be the best stuff. And depending upon the throughput of your mill, you can stockpile the low grade if your mining is higher capacity than your milling. Take care of blind sight and stockpile the low grade for later when you got more mill capacity. Um, yeah. But yeah, I say it. That's one thing you can maybe do to kind of make things a little more efficient. because when you're dealing with low capacity, you want to be as efficient as possible. If you got a higher capacity and a lower throughput cost, it's pretty much anything that pays to process, just send it through. But so that's one thing you can sometimes do as an intermediate measure to improve your cash flow. No, I did not watch that one, John. I've been kind of busy. Um, so I'm missing a few. And I mean, I'll be gone for 3 days and get back and try and catch up with what I can. And I mean, today it's been basically mapping and stuff like that. Last night was mapping because once I adjusted the latitude longitude grid on the maps I had, things changed a bit. Then I had to go back to uh, Google Earth, redo all of that, and then I got on the CAD program, and I'm doing all that. So we shall see. Um, Dave Van uh, may bring some interesting samples in a few weeks too. We shall see. I don't know, Graham. I didn't look at it. 28,000 a ton. Oh yeah, yeah. When I worked at Goldfields, they hit a high grade pocket around $100,000 a ton, and that was at $400 an ounce. You know, they pulled everyone back from that and took it out with an excavator and trucks, hauled it off for special processing. What would that be? They were just lucky one of the blast holes hit it. 100,000 divided by 400. 250 ounces to the ton. Yeah. I can see why they pulled everyone back and, you know, put a barricade up. Yeah, that happens, John. That's why a lot of times they'll use backfill. And they'll backfill so they can pull the pillars. And if that's the kind of grade, you know, he was getting 14 ounces to the ton, and there was enough tonnage there, then yeah, he could certainly, you know, pay to put in cemented backfill and then pull those pillars. You know, absolutely, it can be done, and it's not. I mean, it's basically almost off the shelf technology now. I mean, mines do it all the time. They'll cut a tunnel and back out and backfill it as they go, wait for it to harden, and then drive another tunnel next to it. You know, and that way they can get 100% recovery. Why not? You know, if it's rich enough, there's no. Depending on how deep you are, you can use cribbing and stuff like that. Absolutely. I mean, uh, what is it? Longwall mining. They just use shields, hydraulically supported shields, to hold up the roof while they cut out the coal seam and then let it collapse behind them. You know, and so there's a lot of options that they didn't have, but it can be done. You know, just like they have continuous miners now that can actually eat through rock as long as it's not too hard. You know, we had a Dosco machine when I worked uranium, and yeah, it could mine sandstone just fine. The reason they didn't use it too much was because they didn't have any way to do grade control, because uranium is not that visible in the rock. You pretty much have to use a radiation detector to get a good idea of how much uranium there is there. That the blast holes allowed them to do the grade control too. So I say these are the sort of things that they're doable. It just, is it worth it? It's all a matter of money, not a matter of technology. Oh, it's not like, say, SpaceX, where they're trying to do something that's never been done before. Yeah, we know how to do that.
Yeah, if it actually works on your project.
Yeah, typically what they do is they will take a backfill made from waste or tailings or a combination of both, mix cement with it, and pump it in there, let it harden. And what is it? It's rock. You know, once it's hardened, go ahead and pull the pillars. You can also use various types of bolting, cable bolting. I don't know if you're familiar with cable bolts, but that's where you can take a long hole, 50, 100 feet, whatever you need. You know, with a lot of highway cuts that'll be 50 or 100 feet deep holes. Then they anchor the bottom of the cable in the hole, typically with grout, and let it harden. And then they tension the cable and have a plate pushing on the face of the rock. Typically, in a case like that, they'll have some kind of mesh also. But that way they can get the anchor way back into the bedrock and into the absolutely solid part of the rock to hold it. And cable bolting can give you some pretty good ground support. So it would depend upon the type of rock, what kind of formations, like over at Montana B, where we got those, 4, 5, 6 foot slabs of solid quartzite. Yeah, you can definitely use those for a solid roof if you just put enough support under them. Yeah, that's right. You also have less surface disturbance that way, honey bunny. There's a lot of ways. What was interesting to me was that one case where it was in Canada, like Nova Scotia or something. They were longwall mining coal under the ocean, and their engineers had determined without a doubt that, because as the rock breaks and caves, it gets bigger. Okay, John, thank you. The rock with voids takes up more space, so it'll only cave for a certain amount of time before it starts supporting what's left. And so as they were longwall mining, it was, and it never failed, but I mean, it would have been kind of spooky to me. Let's see, we're letting this rock cave above us, behind us, and above that is ocean 600 or 800 feet up. Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit nervous. Sorry, that's just me. You got a lot of pressure there. I could get a lot of water coming in real quick. You can only do one thing at a time, Brian. But you got all the information you needed, I hope. And say worked pretty well for us. Let us know how it works out, honey bunny. Ugh. Yeah, Brian, when you're putting something together for the first time, there's a lot of stuff. Now you'll notice, for example, with my mill, with your mill, you've got a jaw crusher that then feeds another crusher via mechanical feeder. And while that's nice, it's one more thing you have to purchase, install, debug, and maintain. Whereas with mine, and I think I'm doing less than you are. I'm doing about 500 pounds an hour with the Stutenroth, and I get about 500 pounds an hour through the jaw crusher on the RC46. So call that a combined like 250 pounds an hour with just a geezer on a shovel. Um, Considering my mining rate is optimistically no more than a ton per week under the current circumstances, um, that's plenty. Yeah, 300 to 400 pounds an hour. That's to be expected. Never trust the nameplate capacity of any piece of equipment, because they always do it under optimum conditions, like dredges. Hey, you can move, 10 tons an hour with this dredge. Yeah, if it's beach sand, if you're slinging cobbles, good luck on that one. So, I'll say by um, making it just a person is a lot of the machinery, makes life a lot simpler and a lot more versatile. Okay, and that means you don't have to get the final design right away, and you don't have to throw away or redesign stuff until you know you're ready to actually automate the system that you're doing with your muscles. People underestimate how much a human being can do with just muscles and simple hand tools, and so that creates a lot of opportunity for flexibility. And say it's just one of those deals. Uh, you could run 500 pounds an hour and get road base. Yeah, yeah. I That's part of it. Um, One thing I don't like about the Studenroth is it doesn't have any kind of integral classification system, so you get a wide variety of particle sizes out of it. My design I like because it not only classifies, but it also pneumatically pumps the product out so that it gets transported from there to your tank automatically. No human intervention required. And that saves a lot of work. And with the Stutenroth, I've got that feeder screen, and so I'll basically shovel the dirt almost twice, because the first pass I put it through there, the muck, you know, well, here's how I know. I'll throw 3 good heaping shovelfuls of brand new muck into the hopper, then clean out underneath the fines that the mill is making, and throw in another 4 or 5 good shovelfuls into the hopper, and that'll get me a 25-pound bucket of rock. I mean, of fine grind. Set it off to the side, and then reload and do the same thing. See, like it's those three shovelfuls from the stockpile. That's what's new going into the system. The rest is regrind and rescreen and then regrind. So yeah, it slows it way down. If I could just uh, you can wash the gold off the fine sand with just hydrochloric wash. Interesting. Yes, but it's just something to take into account. The various things you can do and what's capital intensive and maintenance intensive. I don't like maintaining things. Just a personal idiosyncrasy. I don't mind building stuff. I don't mind using it. I'm not a big fan of greasing it every day and all that other stuff. You got to do it, but I don't like it. And it's just interesting, Brian. So I say it wouldn't work in our ore because, first of all, you'd have to dissolve a lot of iron, and secondly of all, even then the gold isn't going to sink. Gosh, it's so fine. So I say to me, it's a simple thing when you're getting started, getting calibrated, verifying your design, making sure it's going to work. For example, our ore grade at Montana B is not where the chip sampling indicated. So if we'd spent a crap load of money to process it, boss would probably be kind of unhappy. It's like, we're supposed to be doing, 3 or 4 tons a week, and we're only doing 1 ton a week, and it just ain't working with this grades. It's like, yep, I know, but to increase the throughput, we're going to have to spend a lot more money. For example, that demo hammer is about as much as you can do with a demo hammer. After that, it's like drill and blast. Yeah. So I like to keep it flexible until you know exactly what you've got, exactly what you need to do, exactly how to do it, and you got everything all figured out and debugged. Then you can start scaling up. And even then, I have heard, and Rock might have a better idea, but any scale up over a 10-fold increase is risky to do it once. For example, if you're doing 1 ton a day and you're going to increase to 100 tons a day, you're likely to run into unanticipated issues, things you can't just tweak. Whereas if you go from 1 ton a day to 10 tons a day, it's more likely that adjustments will take care of the problems you run into. But I don't know how often that works. I do know that the guy I know once who said, if you're going to do something new, study it all you can, make the most detailed plan possible, and then multiply your money by 2 and your time by 3, and you'll probably be fairly close to what the actual resources needed are going to be. And that has worked out fairly reliably. Whatever it is, multiply money times 2 and time by 3. What happens when one of your machines breaks in the hole, honey bunny? What's the methodology for removing it for repair? I mean, every system fails. Yeah, Rock. Okay. I mean, it better be part of the plan because things will go awry. Guaranteed. Murphy was an optimist. This is why when one of these big commercial airliners flying and loses an engine, it's not necessarily an emergency, but they land the plane as soon as they safely can because they've lost their redundancy. The safety factor is now down to not too much. So you always have to have a plan that and test the plan too. You know, what happens? Well, this is what's going to. Well, have you actually tried that? Is it actually going to work when you need it to work? You have to test. You have to try that sort of thing. Pretty good, honey bunny. But yeah, I say that's one of the things. I've seen so many cases in the news where somebody figured, oh, that'll never happen. It's like, oh yeah, uh-huh. And even afterwards, people go, how the hell did that happen? What are the odds? You know, with with reality, it can be pretty high. Sweet, Brian. That sounds good. As long as you got a plan as to who's going to go down there and fix it if needs to be, or how to hoist it out, or whatever. Again, I don't know what the failure modes are, um, but as long as you've thought about that and got a plan for everything you can think about. Then another good thing to do is have somebody else show up and say, okay, what can you think of that might go wrong? An extra pair of eyes always sees something you didn't. You know, well, you just have less weight belt then, honey bunny. That'll work. That's what the BC is all about. Uh, uh. Yeah, surface mining is a lot cheaper and simpler in many cases. Yep. Oh. Do you want to take over for a little bit, Eva?
Give me a second.
I need a little break.
I am doing a survey. You need to wait with.
She's surveying.
I'm doing a very important survey.
Well, I think one of your brothers should have been consulting with some certain people that didn't do well a couple weeks ago. Well, the other thing hey, nice to see you, Adam. How's it going? Saw your latest video there. Yeah, we're gonna have a nice, relaxing 4th of July. I think. I don't know. We may go out to the mine tomorrow. To the mill tomorrow. We'll have to see. I think we got stuff out there.
They're probably doing stuff out there.
I don't know, but yeah, I got plenty to do here. I still got maps to do, and we got a lot of data. By the way, Adam, I didn't think you ran into a water pipe in that in that arroyo you were working. Didn't look like it, but I have seen water like that for sure. Yep.
I'll be right over there, Bear. I just gotta finish the survey.
Yep. Oh.
You must not disturb me when I'm surveying.
Well, good for you. Good for you, honey bunny. Oh.
Okay, make your break short. Shoo, 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 good. Hi. Anyway, yeah, I was doing my surveys. You see, I belong to the National Consumer Panel. So every time I go grocery shopping, I scan my groceries in my little app, and they send me surveys, and I rack up points, and I get to trade my points in for actually really good merchandise. I mean, we're talking luxury towels and sheet sets and appliances, the good stuff. So the surveys are kind of important to me because I save up the points. I get to spend them on anything I want, and they have a big catalog of things for me to spend my points in. So I'm like, oh yay! I'm saving up a ton of points too. Honey Bunny, I'm of two minds on the issue of surveys. If a company wants to scalp my data and use it to try to force me to buy things without even giving me a token remuneration, I get annoyed. Okay? I get really annoyed. However, when a company tells me if you download our app and you take a picture of your grocery receipt, and when you get enough points, we'll send you a $25 PayPal payment or a $25 Amazon gift card, that's fine. They're giving me a token remuneration for my grocery receipt. I get to choose which kind of things I want to share with them because since most of our purchases are in cash, they don't know if they don't see all my receipts. And they give me something that's like Bing rewards. However small it is, they at least are giving me a token. Google Maps, however small it is, they're at least giving me a token. What really annoys me is the companies that steal my data, use my data to make a lot of money, then try to use my data to screw me over and get me to spend money I don't want to spend, and don't give me anything for it. That's annoying. But yeah, I mean, those tokens add up. He can tell you there have been months in the past when I seriously work my programs that it doesn't take me any more time than usual, and I'll get 50 or $100. And I'm like, okay, it's a token, but it's just, yeah, exactly. But the thing is, Honey Bunny, we pay in cash. So if I buy things the globalists don't approve of, like silver, they never find out. Bye bye.
Oh. Well, this guy the globalists probably wouldn't approve of. Yep. All righty.
I don't think the globalists like silver.
Anything else we got going on here? Oh, goodness.
There are plenty of things we have going on here. Most of them are bizarre and unaccountable.
Yep, that's for sure. So anyhow, let's say we'll try plow sieves. What the heck is a plow sieve? I have no idea what that is, Honey Bunny. But I presume it's something a little odd if it would annoy the CIA.
Everything.
Oh, I think I see what you're saying.
Everything annoys the CIA.
Yeah. Oh, well, I say, there goes your 4th of July, huh? Oh, okay. Anything? Yeah. I understand. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Therefore, I don't want to get them annoyed at me because I know I can't defend myself against professionals.
I don't trust them as far as I can fling a dead Democrat.
Yeah. So
Just saying.
I'd prefer to go under the radar. I'm having fun. The weather was pretty nice this weekend.
The weather was amazing.
Yeah, it was. Down here it's a little warm. Up there it wasn't. It wasn't cold, but it was nice. Not a whole lot of sweating going on. Yeah. Anyone got any questions or anything they want to chat about? Anything like that at this point? I can't think of anything. And Rock was going to check with his drone specialists and something about the leaching chemical that's been industry standard for over a century, and proper safety protocols and stuff. Okay.
Well, that's always the question right there.
What?
Proper safety protocols in bizarre places.
Yeah. Standard size plastic line. Is there? I think right now on the plaster claims, you're limited to the actual aliquot portions of a section, but that you might be able to, if it like it was a stream course, you might be able to get it back to the 600 by 1500 foot sort of things, but it wouldn't be a. It would have to be on a stream course. How much is a section? 1 square mile, and you have a section. That was 640 acres, little one?
640 square acres. 640 acres.
640 divided by 20.
Quarter sections 160.
Okay, so you have 32. So you got quarters. 4 times 4 is 16.
106. It's 160
Yeah, 'cause that's-
acres a quarter.
Okay.
Is it
Yeah.
Really?
So you start out with. See, this is a section. This is, say north, south, east, west. And I'm doing it backwards. So I'm going to say this is west. Okay. North is always at the top. So this would be the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter of section whatever. Okay. And a placer claim would be two of these boxes. So for example, your claim could be the south half of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter of section such and such.
I believe there's 36 sections in a township.
So, and 6 times 24 sections in a township. 6 wide, 4. No, you're right. 36.
No, there's
6 by 6.
sections in
Yes,
a
it is.
township, of which 2 are set aside for public use for schools and universities, I believe.
Actually, it would be a 32nd of a section would be a single claim, 20 acres. Okay. Do you think Minor Jim knows anyone geological or operator level with experience in California? Possibly. I would check with Chris. Probably has a better handle on that.
Chris knows all kinds of people in California.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just 20 acres, but a hard rock claim can be no more than 600 feet wide and no more than 1,500 feet long. You could actually make it smaller. There's no rule against that. Very few people do. But a placer claim nowadays, they want it done, let's say, according to these lines. Whereas a hard rock claim, you can have it running at any angle, you're following the vein or whatever. And so let's say that's why I actually made this up, so that I could do aliquot sections of the, so that if I was doing a placer claim, I have it all set up. The specific limits are a bit different. And on a placer claim, if you had 8 people together, you could have, this would be 1 claim individual, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you could put 8 people on the claim document and claim a quarter section at once, you know? And so that is what they call an association claim. If you had two people, like Eva, well, I don't know if Eva and I were husband and wife. Let's say Honey Bunny and me, we could do this. I would strongly discourage people from doing that because it would be better to have, say, Honey Bunny having this and me having this. If let's say Honey Bunny dies and then her heirs inherit, one of her brothers, and he doesn't like me because I'm an asshole, And so now you got co-owners of a claim that hate each other, So it's best to keep the ownership separate if you can. And if you do want to do something like that, if you had something you were going to exploit as a partnership or something, then what you do, let's say that Honey Bunny has a claim, okay? This claim right here. And she says, they probably are, Honey Bunny. She's got this claim, and she wants me to help her deal with it. She wants me to help do the milling and this and that and the other. She says, well, we can split it 50-50. The way you would do that much more safely is say, okay, you're going to own the claim. We're going to set up a partnership to exploit the claim. The partnership will pay Honey Bunny $1 a year to lease the claim. And there's a 5-year lease, and it renews every 5 years unless there's good cause not to or whatever, or non-performance. That's one of the big things. People get part ownership and then they don't do a damn thing. They just sit there. You do all the work, they're getting half the money. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So that's a much better way of handling it. In the lease, you can put in all kinds of terms and conditions. For example, if Honey Bunny was going to supply the money and I was going to supply the labor, well, what happens if I get sick? I'm a geezer, right? Well, so now I'm not holding up my end. If I'm part owner, that's a problem. If I've got a contract and I'm not performing my part of the contract, guess what? Contract's over. She walks away with her claim without encumbrances. And that's what's important, because it allows you, if something goes awry, for example, Keith here has another stroke and my brain is all messed up and I turn even into a worse asshole than I am now. Okay. You don't want to be partners with me. That would be a bad thing. You got a business, you can dissolve the business because it's not renewed. You walk away with your claim.
Sound of Freedom has a 92% Rotten Tomatoes rating ahead of the July 4th premiere from the pre-audience screening.
Yeah.
92% on the tomato meter from the critics and 100% from the audience.
What? 92% from the critics?
Yeah.
Whoa. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there's a movie out called The Sound of Freedom. It's about an actual operation to rescue children.
Says be sure to stay past the credits for the imperative message at the end.
Okay. Apparently it's got an imperative message at the end past the credits. So it's about rescuing children from sexual slavery and stuff in our current times, actual operation. And they're trying to, among other things, expose the horror and the extent of the evil of child and and women's slavery in
Over
our
2
world right
million
now.
children per year that they know of just in the West.
According to Eva, 2 million children a year are trafficked.
In
Okay,
the West that they
in
know
the West, that they've that's the thing. So that's what it's all about. And she said the audience in the previews said 100%
of.
score
The tomato
on the
meter
tomato
gave it a
meter,
92%.
and the critics even gave it a 92%. So that's good. I mean, one thing you can do. Yeah, I can probably do that, Rock. Um, but as you can actually go to their website and buy tickets so that somebody else can go for free if you want, and they can get a uh, somebody can see it or not, or
Yeah,
they
we
can
bought tickets
make
for four
their
people.
money. Yeah, we bought tickets for 4 people. For personal reasons, we really don't want to see the movie. Okay.
It is an extremely difficult subject. It is a subject that's going to hurt a lot of people, but it's an absolutely true story. It is a crucial, crucial movie, and Angel Studios is one of the few studios out there that's actually making good movies worth supporting.
Oh, and it's outsold Indiana Jones's newest, by the way.
Okay. Hey, Rock. Since Chris isn't on, what I have a plan to do is send him your email so he can get a hold of you that way, because I haven't got his. I'm sure he wouldn't mind, but I haven't got his explicit permission to give it out. Okay, so let me do that right now. Yeah, I understand, Honey Bunny. It is one of the things that just annoys the bejesus out of me is all these people are talking about reparations for slavery, when if we were to spend that kind of money to end the slavery that's currently exists in our uh,
And it's not even just
world,
SEX
we could
slavery.
make a whole lot better. By the way, Neil at Angel Studios just sent us an email. Let's see here, just a second. Hold on. Thanks to your amazing support, we've made incredible progress towards our goal of $2 million for 2 million tickets sold for The Sound of Freedom. Last night, we reached a major milestone by pre-selling over 1 million tickets. We're determined to conquer the second half of our goal and make it happen this week. Okay, so they're asking for more money.
And
What's new?
The thing is, it's not just sex trafficking. It's child labor and exploitation.
And
Children being
organs.
poisoned in cobalt mines in Africa.
Let's see.
Children making your sneakers in China.
Here is Rock Butchers. Oh, come on. Spell. In California. Okay, I to Chris Rock wants to talk. Here is Rock Butcher's email. He would like to chat soon about a subject in California. Do you want me to give him your? Oh, here they. Okay, I gave him his email. Yeah, I know it happens all around the world. It's unfortunate. People treat people very badly. Let's see. Search. That's it, huh? Okay. All lowercase. Backspace. Variable. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Sent. Okay. So back to everyone else. Oh yeah. I just I'm very upset that this kind of thing happens in the United States of America in the current time, and they get away with stuff like this. Don't remember, honey bunny. Alrighty. So, okay, I think we'll call it a night and go from there. Get back with you next week after theoretically heading back down in the Montana Bee and breaking some more rock. See how that works out. So, happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. Yeah, I figured that, honey bunny. I don't remember either.
Shooting suspect in ballistic vest leaves 4 dead and others injured.
Yep. You take care, honey bunny.